Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining us nice and early today. It is about 1:03 Eastern, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is, of course, Swain. I'm the head of SEO here at NetElixir, and today I'm very pleased to begin day 2 of SEO Week, our annual knowledge sharing event, with the topic Chaos in the SERP. And what we're covering is, of course, all the algorithm changes that have taken place over the past year or so that have made the world of SEO a little bit chaotic, to say the very least. So just a quick background about NetElixir and who we are. We were founded in 2005 with the goal to help digital marketers succeed online. We have global offices in Princeton, New Jersey, which is where we're broadcasting from today. That is our global headquarters. We also have offices in London and Hyderabad, India as well. Between all these offices, we have over 85 fanatically analytical search marketers, and all told, we have about 5.5 million aggregated hours of hands-on retail search marketing experience. So we take all of the things that we've learned over this time and we apply it to different strategies, and really the whole goal is to help our clients grow. And we do this through a couple different business lines, the first of which is our services line. Of course, search engine optimization is a piece of this, but we like to say that we like to cover all things search and social. So that includes search optimization, paid search optimization, as well as Google Shopping. And then we also have a line of consulting service as well, including business strategy and digital marketing strategies, as well as analytics as well. And we do this through a strong base of technology, including our own proprietary tools and algorithms in Elixir and Elixir Marketplace, as well as Elixir SEO as well. So if you need any more information about that, feel free to just shoot us a note. We're going to be sharing some email addresses throughout the course of the day here, or just punch into the question field that you're interested in learning more. We're more than happy to share more information with you as needed. And a little bit about NetElixir University as well, who is producing today's webinar and all the webinars this week. The idea for NetElixir University was launched in 2012 with the vision of democratizing the digital marketing industry through exceptional knowledge and expertise sharing. Our goal is to share this insight and information with over 10,000 businesses worldwide. We welcome you to join NetElixir University on LinkedIn. All that you have to do is search in LinkedIn groups for NetElixir University, and you will definitely find more information there. And go ahead and join up with us, and we look forward to continuing the conversation there. There is lots of great information taking place in that area by itself. So a little bit of a history about why we started SEO Week, why we started it last year, and why we wanted to bring it back this year. Is really based around the concept that there's over 250 million active websites. So SEO is no longer a nice to have. It is a must-have for any business that wants to remain competitive. SEO is really the process of helping your website get found on Google and Bing. And with that in mind, it's important to note that SEO is absolutely not about fooling Google. It's about doing the right thing to make sure that your website is properly appealing to Google, because if you try to trick Google, you get wrapped up in one of these algorithm updates that we're going to be covering today, and you're going to find yourself fighting an uphill battle to be included in those search results once again. And the overlying principle of SEO Week as well is that we want to give everybody the insight and to learn how to fish, because at that point you're setting yourself up for success for the long haul. So again, the concept of give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's what we wanted to share with everybody throughout the course of this week, so that everybody can genuinely work to grow their businesses, and we are privileged that we are able to do so and share this information. So for the remainder of the week, here's what we're going to be covering. Yesterday, we covered the basics of SEO. So if you check out the NetElixir blog, you will actually see the recording as well as the notes that were taken through the course of that. We will also be covering some of the a separate blog post covering the questions that were asked throughout the course of that webinar itself. So stay tuned for that, but just check out, if you missed it yesterday or you want to relive the action and excitement, go ahead and check that out right at the NetElixir blog. It's netelixir.com/blog, and you will go ahead and see the recording of that there. Throughout the remainder of this week, after today, when we cover the SERP changes, we're also going to be talking about mobile specifically. We're also going to be working on technical SEO as well. So our goal there was to take the scary out of technical SEO. So definitely going to be very exciting there. And then by popular demand, we have brought back Content Day, but we've enhanced it by including information about social as well. So that is going to round out the week. So today, in addition to myself presenting, I'm also joined by one of the SEO managers here at NetElixir, Christie. She has been in the SEO and digital marketing space for over 8 years, and she's joined us recently. And a quick fun fact, Christie has actually been on an episode of an MTV reality show. Don't go searching for her. It has not been properly optimized, not by Christie's design, of course. But anyway, we're just having some fun here so that everyone can get to know Christie a little bit better. And of course, I am once again Sean Swain. I head up the SEO practice here at NetElixir, and I've been doing this for about 10 years or so. And I refer to myself as an in-the-weeds geek as far as web development and SEO. So we typically do tend to lean a little bit more technical, but it does pay off in the end, because that's where you're really going to get your traction in SEO overall. So without any further ado, we wanted to kick off today's session, Chaos in the SERP, SEO updates in 2016. Technically, we cheated a little bit. It is also covering SEO updates that took place in 2015 as well. We felt that a lot of them were really too important to leave out, and we're pretty new in 2016. So even though a lot has happened already in 2016, we wanted to make sure that we were covering some of the really important stuff that happened towards the end of 2015 as well. And with your attendance today, you are entitled to our very own proprietary algorithm impact analysis. Feel free to shoot us a note at seo@netelixir.com. Use the subject line SEO worksheet, and that's going to help us identify that you are after that. So what we'll do is we'll work together to put together a worksheet utilizing the algorithm impact analysis, and that's going to really help provide some insights as far as how your website has fared over the years with the overall algorithm updates that have taken place. So some rules for SEO week. Please ask lots and lots of questions. We had some stellar questions yesterday. We weren't able to get to them all, but they will all be answered as we go through the rest of the event. We're going to work to put together all the questions and put up a nice big blog post that showcases all the questions that were asked, and that'll be alive after the event itself. We also encourage you to take a lot of screenshots. These actions that you're going to be seeing are going to be very helpful in helping you grow your business and growing your business's website traffic. And we encourage everybody to please tweet about what you're seeing utilizing the hashtag SEO Week, and that's definitely going to help you keep your thoughts organized for later reference. And of course, the number one important rule, have fun. SEO is definitely a fun space. It can be stressful at times. We know that there definitely is a lot taking place in the world of Google that can be stressful, but let's just have fun with it. We are making modifications that help us rank on Google, so definitely a lot of fun to be a part of this process. So What I wanted to begin with was, just kind of really asking the question, and Christie, I'd love for you to weigh in on this as well. From your perspective, just to set the grounds, what is an algorithm update?
So Google's core algorithm, they have their core algorithm that's updated every day, that which is what we see when rankings change. And then these major updates that we talk about, Penguin and Panda, that is an actual change or modification in their, in addition to their core algorithm. It's something that they manually push through, and it's usually experimental. So, we'll talk later about Panda being in the core, which is essentially it means that Panda was experimental before, and they put it in their now core algorithm. So when we talk
Interesting.
about updates, we're talking about changes to their existing algorithm.
That's right. That's really interesting, and I think it brings up a great point and a great question. Really, I guess the question that leads to is, why do the algorithm updates happen? To me, from where I'm sitting, is it just Google being Google and just wanting to constantly make changes? What are you seeing from your side as far as why Google is going through and making these changes?
Well, the main thing that Google wants to do is provide the best user experience possible.
Hmm.
They want to adjust to their users and make sure that people keep coming to Google to search, because that's obviously what makes them so valuable. And when you have spammy results saturating page one, or people aren't going to click them and they're not going to use Google if they don't find a way to get rid of those spammy results. So that is why they update the algorithm. They're constantly, finding ways to just offer a better user experience.
I tend to agree with that a lot, and really why these updates are so important. You just look at the value of page one of Google, and we covered this yesterday as well. But there's so much value to page one of Google. You included the stat here that 90% of clicks happen on page one of the SERP. So the kind of the semi-politically incorrect joke that kind of gets tossed around a little bit is that if you want to hide a dead body, maybe the second page of Google would be the best place to throw it. But it's kind of said tongue in cheek though, because so much of the traffic from Google really it takes place on that first page. So being able to for having Google being able to adapt to the fact that people are going to try and manipulate the SERP results to get onto that first page, I think it's really astounding that Google is so committed to their product. So that's why I feel that all of those all these updates are so important, just because it's going to allow Google to constantly have a stellar product.
I agree.
So as we had mentioned, going into today's discussion, we are covering a little bit of 2015, but also 2016. I've openly said it to a bunch of clients that Google really came out of their corner of the ring swinging this year with some of the algorithm updates and everything that we were seeing. So Chris, I'd love to, just kind of a quick rundown here of what we're seeing.
Yes, so the first major one in the last year that we saw was Mobilegeddon. That was in April of 2015, and we'll talk more about it, but that was the first one of the first times Google actually gave a warning to webmasters and SEOers in the digital marketing agencies. I'm sorry, digital marketing industries. Then we saw RankBrain, which was actually happening for a while. But they came out and told us that that was happening. Then we recently this year found out that Panda is part of the core algorithm, followed by in February we saw the AdWords layout change, which does affect organic search. So we're going to talk about that. And then we found out this month that PageRank is no longer going to be visible to pretty much the
Again,
public.
right? Yep.
And then we'll talk about constant shaking of the SERP as it's always changing, pretty much on a daily basis. And we're expecting a Penguin update soon, but that has not happened yet. So we'll talk about that as well.
Absolutely. So the first one that you mentioned, Christie, was Mobilegeddon, and really I found it astounding. Like I know I was personally blown away by the fact that Google actually gave a bit of a warning to it. I remember this time last year that was one of the things that we talked about during SEO Week. You know, it hadn't been released yet at that point, but we said, hey, this is coming. So I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Right. So and again, this goes back to Google focusing on the user. So they gave webmasters and digital marketers and business owners a heads up because they want users to have a better experience. They wanted businesses to convert their website to mobile design or responsive design, and especially they saw it very quickly, with how many people are using iPhones and digital devices to connect to the web, that the number of mobile devices being used to search very quickly surpassed the number of desktop searches. So that's a big reason why they gave a warning. And they also have said that mobile friendliness it has expanded as a ranking signal itself, because they want to help users find relevant, user-friendly results.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. So here we are about a year out or a year past the impact of it. From where I'm sitting, the results were kind of mixed from Mobilegeddon. You know what I mean? It was thought to kind of annihilate the web to a certain degree. But I'm not sure that we've seen that. There's a lot of there's definitely been a lot of shaking for sure. But from my perspective, though, it was forecasted to be like a nuclear bomb, and really it was just kind of more like a hand grenade. You know what I mean? To a certain degree, it still hurts, but it maybe not completely annihilated. What did you find in your research, Christie?
Well, initially there wasn't as much of an impact as everyone thought there was going to be. Everyone really expected the whole first page and the whole SERP to completely turn upside down. But over time, statistics really do show that since the last year, since the update was implemented, mobile-friendly websites have gotten, in fact, at least 32% more organic traffic, and 50% of mobile URLs, of non-mobile friendly URLs, have seen an eventual drop in traffic. And I think the important thing to keep in mind is that a lot of webmasters and companies did prepare for Mobilegeddon. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. So what we've put together is kind of the things that you need to know for Mobilegeddon. Mobilegeddon was really just as Christie has mentioned a couple times now. The world is mobile now. You know what I mean? That's the thing to keep in mind at the end of the day, is that so many people are utilizing their mobile device as their primary means of communicating with the world. Christie, I'd love for you to dive in here a little bit as far as some of the other need to knows as far as mobile goes.
Sure. So the things that you want to know that's most important. A lot of us have iPhones, Androids, tablets. The best thing is to ensure that your websites are configured to respond, or to at least be viewable on all types of these devices. And another thing is mobile friendliness is determined at the page level, not site-wide. So if you have some pages that are mobile friendly, it's better than having no pages that are mobile friendly. Obviously, it's better to have the whole thing, but if you can't get to that right away, it's better to optimize whatever you can. And then according to Google, mobile friendly includes a responsive design and or having a separate mobile version of your site. So either they do prefer responsive, but they have said that regardless if it's responsive or if you have a separate mobile version, it won't have that specific fact will not have an impact on your ranking signals. So in other words, if you have a responsive site which responds to the size of the browser, or a mobile site that is separate from your desktop site, which is m.google,
Sure.
for example.
Yeah. That makes I think that makes a ton of sense. And then, the other point that I'm seeing on here is that Google has recently announced that starting in about 2-ish months, probably a little less than 2 months, it's going to increase the strength of the MobileFriendliness as a ranking factor. Do we know any more about that?
Yeah, so Google actually announced last week that they're just increasing, they're increasing the weight, essentially, that they put on having a mobile-friendly website. So that's definitely something, if you're not already converted to mobile-friendly or responsive, that you want to get on top of, because the longer you wait, the harder it will be to increase your ranking position or to get your positions back.
Great point. And of course, we've touched a lot on mobile already today, but please feel free to join us tomorrow when we're going to be covering mobile specifically. We have a lot of great stuff prepared for that, so I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that, covering mobile overall. So moving into before we move on to the next algorithmic change that's taken place over the last year, we just wanted to ask a quick poll. Now, of course, the information that we're going to be the answers to these questions, rather, it is private, so it will just be a general question. So what we wanted to ask was, what kind of impact did your business see from Mobilegeddon? And again, all answers will be confidential. So was it that you didn't prepare but didn't see much of an impact? You prepared and saw no impact? What was the overall impact that your business felt? And we have a couple different options here as well. So I can see that some votes are coming in now. Can see that they're still coming on through. So we'll once it seems like it slows down, we will see. We'll see what the final answer is. We're going to give it probably about 10 more seconds, just so that everyone can get their final answers in. And thank you everybody for participating in this poll. Give it about 5 more seconds or so. Okay, and we are going to share that information. So it looks like it's a little bit mixed. Looks like a lot of folks, about 56%, say that they were prepared and saw growth or minimal impact. But it also looks like there were also some folks that didn't prepare for Mobilegeddon and also didn't see much of an impact. So that's definitely a pretty reasonable case for what we've seen as far as Mobilegeddon is concerned. As Christie had mentioned, it's very reasonable that as time goes on and Google releases more and more algorithm changes that are mobile specific, we'll probably see these numbers move much more towards just being so much more mobile centric as far as the updates are concerned. And if you're interested in making some modifications to your website, one place that you can act now is using Google's Mobilefriendliness tool. Now, this is going to provide some insights as far as what you can do within your website. All that you have to do is use Google, search for mobile-friendly site test, and that will allow you to see how Google is perceiving your website from a mobile friendliness perspective. and that will also allow you to see some great insights there. If there's any questions, of course, just feel free to let us know. But we use this tool on a day-by-day basis, and it's perfectly logical to think that, as Google moves forward, they are definitely going to be utilizing mobile ranking signals as a pretty strong ranking signal in the future. So before we move on, a quick fun fact. Christie, do you want to share this?
Yeah, sure. I mentioned this a little before. So Google recommends using mobile-friendly responsive design, which again is separate from just having a separate, is different than having just a separate mobile version of your site, because having responsive design helps crawl and index your site, whereas if you have a separate mobile version and a separate desktop version, there could be issues with the page URLs and issues with Google crawling your site. So that is essentially why they recommend responsive design.
Great point. Great point. Thank you very much. So the next major algorithm update that we wanted to cover spans back to October of 2015, and that is, of course, RankBrain. RankBrain really came out of left field, the announcement of it anyway. And at the same time, it kind of made sense. We saw things like the knowledge graph come to light. We've seen a bunch of signals along the way that Google was making the movement towards machine learning and artificial intelligence. So, this was very similar to Hummingbird, if we remember that from several years back. Where Hummingbird was not just a quick change that Google made. This was something that they embedded and full out replaced the core algorithm with. So again, very strong algorithm update to take place from Google, and we know that it's been in the works for quite some time. And really, Christie, I don't know how you feel about this, but to me, the whole relationship between what people are searching for and content on the web has been just absolutely, mind-boggling and really insightful.
Definitely. What they're trying to do at RankBrain is really be able to answer questions that Google's search engine has not been able to recognize before. At the time, I think up to 30% of search queries that Google gets a day, which is I think 450 million, they have not seen those search queries before. So
Right.
They had to really figure out a way to answer them, and that's what they're doing with RankBrain is using it to create connections between words and provide answers for longer search queries, longer tails.
Makes sense. And it all applies right back to where we started with, this is the direction that the end user is going. So here's,
Exactly.
So you actually did this quick research here as far as, the effect of RankBrain. So do you mind walking through this?
Yeah, sure. So RankBrain, again, is able to handle words or phrases that it hasn't seen before by making connections with what it thinks has a similar phrase or meaning. So in the picture here, it's a pretty good example. The search was when was the wife of Obama born? So if you think about it, how does the search engine know who the wife of Obama is? Or, I mean, obviously we know, or anything. So what it's doing is making a connection between Barack Obama and Michelle Obama and providing her birthday. Whereas, if you do a search like this for someone that maybe isn't as popular, you can also begin to start seeing results because it's going to make connections, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Definitely fascinating, just how Google is able to make all of these connections. So, of course, with all of that comes, the action item that we can definitely share with everybody as far as RankBrain is concerned. what you need to know and what you can, take away from this is that RankBrain is the third most important ranking signal. Google has confirmed this on multiple occasions. And really, we're already starting to see the direct impact of how this is relating to the searches, and how just going through a different search train and seeing how Google is able to provide different results has it's really been cool to see. But what this also brings up is, how can you react to that? You know what I mean? So Google's going to make all the connections between certain objects, but how do we prepare for that? So looking at some of the best practices that we could put on the table here, just really take a step back, and really where it comes from is that you want to really just think about how you want to approach your content. So taking a step back and focusing on what the user intent is of your website is how you are going to get the most impact out of RankBrain. So it's no longer, we've known this for a little while, that it's no longer about keyword, 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 keyword. It's about answering a user's question. So how do we go about answering a question that is that was never asked? Exactly. So I think you included a great point here, and if you want to elaborate on it a little bit, think of RankBrain as your friend, not your enemy.
Yeah, exactly, because if you have content that is relevant to a potential user, you really just got to think about it on a larger scale. What type of person is going to be looking for this, or what type of content will they be looking for? And since Google now has the ability to recognize connections with terms, as long as you have quality content in the right arena, that will ultimately lead the user to you.
Great point.
In so many words. And again, keywords are still important, and it could help many. I've seen it help many websites where you do a search and you won't even see the keyword on the search engine result page.
Interesting.
Because it's recognizing synonyms.
Right. Absolutely. That makes total sense. So to round out what we're talking about with RankBrain, I personally laughed out loud in my chair when I read this fact when it was released, that RankBrain has already proven to be smarter than the humans who created it. I think it really just goes a long way to say how smart of an algorithm it was that was put together. A lot of the engineers that worked on it, just really, they did such a good job in creating this software that can kind of predict and connect things and all of that, that it just very quickly surpassed what they were expecting to get out of it.
The interesting thing about this quote also was that they made a prediction as to where search results would rank on a page, like so on page 1, and so 70% of the engineers who create the algorithm were not able to. I'm sorry, 70% were able to tell, but the fact that the 30%, or they were 30%, they weren't right 30% of the time, also shows how much the rankings fluctuate.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next thing that we wanted to cover, because this to me was probably amongst the most important algorithm updates to have taken place over the last year, is the fact that Panda became a part of Google's core algorithm. And this is one of the things that we were talking about, Google coming right out of the gate, swinging and making some pretty wild modifications to the algorithm. So, Christie, if you want to give a little bit of a background of what Google Panda is and was, and then we can talk about what it means that it's part of the core.
Sure. So Google Panda was initially we saw it in February 2011, and it focused on filtering out sites that had lower content quality, or sites that weren't really, they didn't provide substance or what the user was really looking for. It filters out thinner, lower content, and it really measures the quality of content on web pages. And the big thing about Google Panda was that it was, we would see manual updates every few months or every month, and then Google just came out in January and said that it's part of the core algorithm now. So again, they've said that although it's part of the core algorithm, the focus of it has not changed, which...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and you've mentioned that, that part of the core, so there's obviously Panda as a standalone item, and then there's the core things, the core nuts and bolts of what makes Google move. So being part of the core, to me, from my seat, essentially means that that Google's main focus has to be content, right? You know what I mean? Like, so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, definitely. So that it just shows us that they have a continuing dedication to content, and that we don't know what the highest quality, the highest ranking factors are, but there's a good chance that quality content is one of them. And again, as we said earlier, what it means to be part of the core is that it's no longer experimental, and it'll run with the core algorithm on a regular basis, pretty much daily, or
Yeah. Potentially lifetime too.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, we'll see how that happens down the road. Not to be too predictive, but so some action items that can be taken directly to your website, knowing that Google has such a core focus on pun intended, such a core focus on the content that is within your website. Some of the things that you can definitely do to make sure that you are improving your status with Google, where we can begin is by improving your content. So regardless of the fact that Google says that, oh, it doesn't matter how much content you have, just make what's there high quality. Statistically, we know that more content does tend to perform better. Now, that's not to say, and it is a bullet point that we have here, having a higher word count does not constitute as quality of content. Everything that needs to be on the page needs to be of high quality. However, a page with no physical written text content will be, it's going to have more of an uphill battle than a website that has a considerable amount of content. And when we refer to content, we're not just talking about text that exists on a website. Christie, one note that you included here was content can take on many forms. Do you care to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Google has said, and this has come directly from, the top engineers at Google, that it doesn't have to necessarily be written content. I mean, of course, you should have a good ratio of everything, but content includes videos and images. I mean, they have a video search and an image search on Google, so it doesn't mean that it has to be just written content. Of course, you should have written content, especially on business and e-commerce websites. But again, it could mean a quality video that teaches that teaches a user how to do something, or
absolutely,
something of that sort.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything that's going to provide value to
exactly.
the end user. That's awesome. So the other thing that we've noticed in 2016 was that Google is just constantly making changes. There's a lot of things that are taking place, and internally we refer to it as being in a constant state of flux. And we've known that for for the longest time, Google has always consistently made changes to their index. But the reason that we're mentioning it today is that there are just a lot of things that are taking place kind of rapidly, even this early in 2016. So the note that was made here, that there's over 500 minor changes and updates to the algorithm each year. Those are directly impacting how things are appearing in the SERP. In 2012 alone, for instance, there were 665 individual algorithm updates that impacted the SERP results. So that's almost 2 per day that were impacting the SERP results. And realistically, in the morning you could be in one place, and by the afternoon you're in another, and by the morning again you're back to where you were. And of course that's referred to as the Google dance. That's one thing that has really been surprising to the SEO community over the past few months, is that it seems like the Google dance has seemed to return over the last couple months. Christie, do you care to dive in a little bit there?
Yeah, and the traditional meaning of the Google dance, it had to do with the servers that Google used when they would update their index, which is not relevant really anymore. But what we essentially mean now when we say the Google dance is how often you'll see ranking positions fluctuate. And this especially happens after a change to your website. Google is adjusting to the site and really judging whether your content is valuable. It's looking at things from your bounce rate to the quality of the content, and it's trying to gain trust. It's your chance to actually gain Google's trust in that sense. So if you do see your rankings fluctuating, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably a good thing, and you just have to really be persistent. And I mean, in most cases you'll see that a big update to your website could trigger a Google dance, such as making a strong effort to increase page speed, or an increase in backlinks, converting to responsive design, and updates like that, major updates.
Awesome. Yeah, very, very good points, Christie. So more recently, we've seen also the change to the AdWords layout, where Google essentially discontinued ads on the side, the text ads rather, and we've also seen that there are now 4 paid text ads, which really makes organic being above the fold to be relatively difficult. In a paid position 4, in some cases, has essentially become organic position 1. So there has been a major impact as a result of this. So even if you're doing all the right things and you're in position 1, you're potentially seeing an impact of it, and it's unfortunate, because it's you're doing all the right things, and Google, we understand Google's perspective that they are a business that has obligations to shareholders and everything. So it makes sense from that perspective. However, doing the right thing within Google and being ranked in the number 1 position has definitely taken a hit as far as the impact from that goes. So all of the new blank space that we've seen there, we're seeing more occurrences of product listing ads or Google Shopping, and we're also seeing more instances of the knowledge panels as well. So when that's relevant to a search, we are seeing that taking place. So how does this apply, and what does it mean for organic search in the AdWords layout changes? Christie, do you care to push a little bit here?
Yes. So although there are, the organic results are being pushed down 1 spot, and in some cases, shoved around a little bit, but the important thing is that a lot of users are very savvy to what's ads and what's organic results. I know many people who they just kind of skip the result unless they're making a purchase. You'll look through them. It really depends on the search, and then with the rising use of ad blockers, it's also important to keep that in mind, that organic is probably more important than ever. Paid search is still very important too, but organic is still definitely, Google again their core focus is their users. So if people come to Google and only see paid results, eventually they're gonna lose trust in it. So I don't see in the foreseeable future you'll probably see on a lot of blogs that people saying that they think Google's gonna be page one will be completely filled with paid results. I don't foresee that happening. So it's more than ever, I think it's important to focus on organic search.
Great points, great points. So, of course, what we want to share with everybody is a little bit of an action that you can take today as far as how you can remain competitive in the ever-changing SERP. A great place to start is the use of structured data. So by using structured data, you can have your SERP results modified, and really it's just a matter of thinking, what is your audience looking for? How can you answer their questions a little bit easier? And I think you highlighted a great point here, Christie, about concert tickets. If you sell something similar to that, you can incorporate structured data within the SERP and have these results appear in the SERP rather. What are some other things that you think, Christie, can help us really win in the ever-changing SERP?
Yes, so I mean, in addition to using structured data, which I think really highlights your product or your information that you're sharing to the user, there's a strong focus on building your brand. If you get, you want to get associated with the products that you sell, so people go to Google and search for you instead of the product, or even so this way RankBrain associates you with the product. And then you want to engage your audience constantly on social media. You really just want to be an engaging voice that responds to consumers and to audiences, and that provides that quality content that the audience or the user or the consumer can expect.
Great point. Great points. Okay, so moving right along here, the funny thing to bring up here, and I'm really surprised that in March of 2016 we can still say this here, is that there hasn't been a Penguin update since October of 2014. There's been a lot of speculation that this is going to become live time. It's just going to be a part of the algorithm. But it's really surprising to see that this is still not taken place, and that we haven't seen a new spam fighting piece of the algorithm and the changes required for that being released. But with that in mind, we know that there are going to be updating. There is eventually going to be an update. So an action item that you can take with you once you're completed with this webinar today. Some of the actions that you can take, what you can do to prepare. You want to take a close look at your anchor text, and you also want to make sure that you are keeping an eye on your backlink profile. If you have some bad links, you do want to make sure that they are being removed, because that's going to act essentially as an anchor, and it will weigh you down. You also want to make sure that you have a healthy ratio of no follow versus do follow links. That's definitely going to be crucial in making sure that you have a backlink profile that not only appears natural, but flat out is natural. And the point at the bottom here, really what we're moving towards potentially is that Google could possibly make the Penguin update real time, which means that, as links are being counted for, you're going to see an impact pretty quickly. So we're really excited to see that coming to light, and I really do believe that that's going to have a very strong impact there. So as we're moving through here and rounding out the last few topics here for the algorithm updates, it looks like it may officially have happened after many times of saying PageRank is dead, PageRank is dead. It looks like Google may actually finally be discontinuing PageRank for real this time.
So yeah, they're discontinuing the use of the PageRank toolbar or the visibility of it. You know, they still have a component of PageRank in their algorithm. We just will not know what it is now. PageRank was really used as an opportunity for good and bad, but unfortunately the bad is kind of outweighed the good for Google. So yeah, if for anyone who doesn't know what PageRank is, it was just a measurement of how valuable your website was in Google's eyes. It was a measurement on a scale from 1 to 10, and you'll notice it. You might have noticed the little green bar on some websites will have page ranks of 5, 6, and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think you kind of actually covered this already as far as what PageRank was, so we'll skip right past it. So PageRank was, of course, Google's original secret sauce. Looks like it's going to go back to being a secret. So we'll see how this plays out and how this is going to be perceived in the world of SEO. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. So in a nutshell, the main takeaway that can be thought of here would be that Google's search algorithm is going to constantly change as the user search behavior changes. One thing that we covered yesterday was that there were many search engines in the past that just could not keep up with user needs and user demands. Google has successfully stayed up to date with all of those individual things, and that's why Google has remained a powerhouse. So that is one thing to keep in mind, that if the world is changing, you have to make sure that your website is changing along with it, because Google is going to be clearly keeping up with those changes of the end user, and it's important to make sure that you keep up just from a business perspective. So with just the few minutes that we have left, we would love to get to any questions that there may be. So we have enough time to get to a couple questions, and there have been a few that have come across. So feel free to keep them coming through, and we will definitely keep getting, we'll get to as many of these as possible over the next few minutes. So the first question that we can address here: can bad links be redirected to other relevant links on the site? So I think what we are, what's being referred to here would be if you have a bad backlink from another website to your website, can it just be taken to another page? So what I would suggest is that it's actually a very good question. So what do you think, Christie?
I mean, I think if it depends on what type of bad backlink it is. If it's if it's a bad backlink because of the source it's coming from, then you wouldn't want that link at all. If you could get rid of it, if it's because of the anchor text or or the content page that it's on, then you could possibly redirect it. That would be a case that it could possibly. I mean, yeah, I would investigate,
For sure,
further.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so next question regarding bad links: is there a tool for that? ElixirMarketplace.com. We have built a proprietary tool that will allow you to take a look at your backlink profile. So you can utilize that to see what kind of backlinks are there, and it should be pretty obvious as far as it should be pretty obvious as far as what are good links and bad links, so that it should stick out like a sore thumb to you. As far as if a link should be relevant or if a link is relevant or not. Okay, next question. Can you use structured data for non-e-commerce websites? So yes, absolutely. So pretty much any element on your website can be marked up using structured data. You obviously don't want to go overboard and to kind of make it look spammy. but I encourage my clients to use navigational elements within their structured data. That has definitely seen some good crawlability impact. Google gets through the site a bit easier when they can recognize the links themselves. But yeah, I think that's definitely a great place to start. If you have reviews, you can also, reviews of your service, you can incorporate those too. Using a service like schema.org will help you get a great start. I missed a very obvious one.
The Google has a structured data testing tool and a data highlighter.
Yep, absolutely. And the other thing that I forgot to mention, and I'm surprised I did already, but your address. So getting your address and everything marked up using structured data will definitely help Google pinpoint where your business is located, and you can see some definite results from that effort in and of itself. All right, so that actually brings us about to the end. Thank you for all the great questions that have come across. I'm sorry that we ran out of time, but we will, of course, be covering all of these things throughout the remainder of the week. Tomorrow is, of course, going to be the mobile center day, and then Thursday we'll be covering technical SEO. So really looking forward to all of that. And for Friday, back by popular demand, is content day. We just decided to enhance it a little bit with covering some information about social as well. So definitely looking forward to sharing that with everybody as well. In the meantime, we thank you for attending today, and we hope that everybody has a great afternoon ahead of them. And if there are any questions, of course, feel free to reach out to us, and we would be happy to answer any questions that there may be. But otherwise, we will see you tomorrow right back here at the same time, same channel, and we look forward to seeing you there. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.